The idea that the progressive tax code is not progressive enough, and of course she has been a big champion of trying to boost it for the upper income to make it fair so that people pay their fair share. What's lost in this argument, I don't care whether you're on the right or the left, Republican or Democrat, liberal, conservative, is that fewer and fewer people are paying taxes net-net. The share of those who pay any sort of federal income tax is about half the American population, right, the eligible tax-paying population. Now, there are a variety of reasons for that. There are those who still pay FICA, for example, and other Medicare-related taxes. But as far as straight income taxes and getting phased out or what have you, fewer than half are paying any federal income tax at all. So the issue of fairness then can be read, well, do you address that or correct that by hiking taxes on the well-to-do unless everybody first has some skin in the game? Let's explore this with billionaire investor John Paul DeJoria on what he makes of this particular tax pitch. Now, I know you, John Paul, could well afford to pay whatever the tax rate is, and I understand that. You've mentioned as much in prior visits. But I do worry more longer term for our country that that math is not sustainable. No matter how much you tax the wealthy, if fewer and fewer individuals are putting money into the system. And I'm not saying they should pay the top rate or your rate or whatever, everybody, but everybody should have some skin in the game, and everybody doesn't.
Definitely. I love you out there, but the young lady is young. She doesn't understand. Let's give her a little bit more time there in office. What she doesn't understand is it's what's the problem, not what's more taxes going to solve, what's more spending going to solve, is what is the problem. The problem is the money is not allocated properly out there to begin with. A lot of money is wasted. The second part of it is, isn't it the American dream to be able to make more and more? And now we're finding out that more of those of us that are making more and more are spending a lot more, I'm talking about in the millions of dollars, to help other people out. Well, you start taxing people 60, 70%. It's happened in France years ago, happened in England years ago, happened in our country years ago, and it just didn't work. It didn't work at all. So I think she's got to focus a little bit on what really is the situation. Where really should we not be spending money when we are spending it? Where should we not be spending that money? And it's not raise that taxes, how to appropriate it a little bit better off. You also have another whole group of people that I happen to be a member of, the Giving Pledge. We spend tens of millions of dollars in taxes every single year, but we also have pledged to give back 50% of our wealth while we're alive or after we die. And we think that we could put it towards the use of the people a little bit better than the government. We think we're a little sharper than the government is at doing things like that.
You know, one of the things that's interesting about what she is proposing, it isn't new or very different, but it is intriguing where she's saying, look, I'm not going to take people like John Paul DeJoria and go after them and slap them from the first dollar they make at 70%. I think she used the 10 million example. Anything over 10 million or whatever then starts getting taxed at this higher rate, a graduated level that kicks in at graduated, well, figures. What do you think of that? And that's one of the way many liberals are trying to ease this potential crunch, that you're not going to be taxed at that rate, but that this will be essentially a surtax on the really wealthy.
Well, they've got to look at it once and differently. You said it a while ago, everyone paying their fair share. When I was in junior high school, I had a full-time job, and they would take out of my paycheck a little bit of money for Social Security, a little for this, a little for that. It wasn't that much, but they took it out. And I felt like, hey, I'm an American citizen. I'm contributing to this country, and it made me feel good. If people all give a little bit, have a little bit of skin in the game, they feel more it's their country, opposed to, well, just give me what you can. It's someone else's country, they're making all the money. Yeah, but they're also contributing all the money. It'd be nice if we all worked together. I like your idea. Everybody puts in a little bit, even if it's a little bit. We all are doing something for this country, not just complaining about those where the American dream came true for them. They were fortunate that American dream came true, but they also worked for it.
Now, the Bernie Sanders and others in the party have been arguing, you know, things were just working fine in the Eisenhower administration when actually the rate had been over 90% for the top rate, and then John Kennedy was pushing for a 70 to 72% top rate that eventually took effect, sadly, after he died, but it did take effect. Of course, then years later, to Ronald Reagan, bringing it down to 28%. It's bumped up at around that level, close to 40% where we are today. I'm just wondering what you make of that in the old days, people in the top tier, such as yourself, were paying a lot more, or were they dodging that, or were they finding a way to shield that?
They were dodging it. It was really playing out quite well. Yeah, 70%, but nobody paid it. There were so many write-offs, so many places to put money, so many ways to do things. Nobody ever paid it. So part of the deal was every time they lowered the taxes, they lowered the amount of deductions that you could take and number of places you kind of hide money and not pay taxes on it. That's happened ever since they've been lowering it. So I think today, percentage-wise, people are paying a lot more in taxes, percentage-wise, than they were back in the 1950s during the Eisenhower era, because there were so many deductions everybody could take.
Yeah, I think it might have been a profound guy. I think yourself said that you could easily double the price of some of your very, very hotsy-totsy shampoos or what have you. But
Sure.
and you'd have the detail of people willing to pay that price. And I think the same is analogous to, hiking the top tax rate or what have you. If there isn't
Sure.
sort of a wider pool of tax participants around to feed this government that depends, obviously, on revenue, but we're quick to raise the price tag, in other words, what you pay, than we are to address what you're paying for.
Exactly. I think there should be more of what are you paying for? Because so many things people are paying for, they don't want to pay for. We elect people to represent us in Congress and the Senate. We hope they'll do a good job. But we don't get regular reports from them on, well, where did you spend the money? What did you vote on? Some will do that, but very, very few. So next time of election time, it's, do we re-elect you? Well, what did you do? What did you not do? So I think there should be a little bit more transparency in government, too, so people can see really what they're spending and where they're spending it. And people don't know that. The majority of people don't know it. I don't know it.
Do you ever get annoyed by those who'll say, well, you've gotten your wealth nefariously then? The implication is that very successful guys like yourself, there's something sneaky about it. We can't believe it. They're you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like a very quiet little prejudice that builds up that those who are successful did so by ill-gotten means.
I was in a courtroom and had an attorney picking out a jury that asked the jury, that was a civil type of a trial, that asked the jury that how many people here think that if you made it in life, you did something dishonest, be really wealthy, and several people raised their hand. Of course, they dismissed and they raised their hand. And their feeling was that if you made it, you did something dishonest. It's not the American dream. People have to remember, America still works. The American dream still works. Everyone wants to be part of that American dream. It still works. It's not, it's out of reach. God, I was homeless twice and I did it. And if I could do it, others could do it. I'm a simple person. I did it the American way, and others can do it also. Watch Good Fortune, the documentary. It'll show you how, even if you're homeless.
No, it's a very inspiring kind of a story, and it shows what is possible in this country. It's always good seeing you, John Paul. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Always a pleasure. A lot of peace, love, and happiness to you out there, my friend.
To you as well.